So I wrote an article earlier this week. I was playing around with Perplexity Computer for the first time. They announced that they had this plaid connector that you could use to build apps with. So I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And it's not perfect by any means, but I was very impressed with what it could do and how quickly within 10 minutes I was able to like have a working portfolio tracker.
Well,
Um, and it shifted my perspective, even though I think we all know it's going to be easier to build software with AI in the future. The fact that it's a bit closer than I realized, like, totally shifted how I've been thinking about it. And I just like had to sit down and get all my thoughts on paper to kind of sort it all out. Um, and I think it's going to have a real impact on particular stocks. So I just want to kind of break that down. And obviously, none of this is investment advice. So the first big thought is code in the near future will be a commodity, meaning anyone will be able to build whatever they want with minimal barriers to entry. You'll be able to just prompt the thing and it will build the front end, the back end. You'll be able to get on the app store all with just one prompt. And if your product or your website doesn't have a strong moat, and by that I mean like a more of a tangible moat, like anything that's based in the real world, you could be replicated by someone with,
one of these
just
AI based.
prompting it. Yes.
Yeah.
So an example of companies that have a real moat would be X and YouTube, where maybe you're watching this on, where they have the social network of it all, where you can make the next X platform, you can make the next YouTube platform, but it doesn't mean anyone's going to go and use it. So they have that network effect. Another example would be Uber, where they have the cars and the driver network,
Right.
and the government like approval in different cities and whatnot. So it's things like that where it's going to be very hard, regardless of how easy it is to make software. It's going to be very hard to disrupt those
Right.
players.
Right.
Now, the examples of where it might be a bit easier to disrupt would be just pure software plays. So an example would be Jira or Atlassian and Figma, where you're not going to be able to necessarily build that great of a product today, but it is
It's easy to
definitely coming.
imagine. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
easy to imagine that's where AI is going. You'll be able to say, like, build me something like Jira and make it just as good. And it'll and it'll
exactly.
create something for you that's as good.
And not only that, but you'll be able to build it for your use case. You'll be able to build it without like all the bloat. Um, and you can add whatever features you want. You're not like reliant on some third party.
Right.
Um, Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that everyone is going to prompt their own software and there is no future for these companies like Jira and Figma. I think a lot of people are still going to want to use other people's software uh, for because you have these software owners and creators that have expertise and vision and kind of know what to build next. The average
Right.
consumer doesn't, even they might know what they want, but they also maybe don't know what they want, which is the whole like Steve Jobs thing where
Right. Right.
he kind of figures out exactly what users may want even if they don't know they want it.
Right.
Um
There's a famous Henry Ford quote about that, where it's like, if you asked people who rode horses and buggies, what do they want? They'd say faster horses, and
right,
like, but
exactly.
they didn't tell them that they wanted cars because they didn't know that was possible. But yeah. By the way, you wrote this sort of you put your thoughts down because I read it the other day, but you wrote it over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I
or
wrote it over the weekend.
was it a coincidence that you used Atlassian, or did you know that Atlassian was just removed from QQQ?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, you
So it
didn't
was
know
a
that?
coincidence.
So
No.
so literally, I think on Monday, I think it was announced, or maybe it was Friday. I don't remember, but I think I saw it after I read your thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So, yeah, Atlassian was just removed from QQQ and replaced by SanDisk, I believe.
That's funny.
So
Yeah, I had no idea.
yeah, so it's already affecting some of these software companies who you happen to use as an example.
Yeah.
Jira is
And
made by Atlassian, for those who don't know.
and I do think B2C or consumer products will take less of a hit than B2B, business to business products, because
Right.
corporations have more incentive to build their own solutions. One, that they hire people to do it, and two, they're paying more for these services. Where a consumer product, a lot of them are already free,
Right.
because they're supported by ads, so there's less incentive. And even the ones that do have, a $10 a month plan, there's some users will definitely want to build their own, but a lot, for the reasons I listed already, it's not going to
Yeah.
be worth it for them. Um, so what I did after I wrote this, it was like, oh, I should look at my portfolio and make sure all my like stocks pass this kind of check. And they
Right.
do, fortunately. I mean, like the ones that I'll call out, are Bumble's a good example, where that is a pure software play, but they have the network effect. So I
Right.
think
Right. You
that,
could replicate Bumble in a day, but
right,
there's nobody on there, so no one's coming on there to look for dates because no one else is on there. So
right. And you could
you could
even you could prompt a better product than Bumble, right? Like if you have a better
right,
idea, but you still need the people on there, and that's the biggest
right,
problem of all. Um, Meta, similar, they have the network effect. Uh, Amazon, I mean, outside of the that they have an immense amount of users. Obviously, AWS, you're not prompting, and the whole e-commerce side, and
right,
them using their Rivian electric trucks, you're not prompting that into existence. So
right.
I think all my like more software focused plays are fairly safe. And that's not to say if you own Figma or Atlassian that you should be selling by any means. It's just something, because I do think that these companies still have businesses in this like post uh, AI kind of world. Um, but it is just something to be aware of and think about, of how are they going to make their moats more defensible.
Yeah. Also, these companies are integrating AI into their products, making their products much stronger as well.
Yes.
So there is a lot of that I suspect is going to be happening as all of these companies also employ some brilliant people who are somewhat aware of these things, and um, yeah, but I generally agree with the high level viewpoint, which
Yeah.
which I thought was fantastic. Your write up was really good.
Thank you. And we will have that in the description below.